first of all, coach, having coached young teams before, how do you judge what you're looking for from a young team in growth? Because win totals aren't always going to be there. I always wonder that in all these sports because you got a guy like Devin Booker who's a star, but a lot of guys who need to fail to succeed, right? So how do you try and figure out whether or not they're doing the right things and growing when you're looking from a GM standpoint?
And Igor is a terrific coach, but he's a great human being, and you hate to see this happen to anyone. Unfortunately, it's part of our business. Yeah. And he was only there for a year, but he's had a terrific career. And as Rex mentioned, he's been around a lot of great coaches. He's been involved with championship teams. He was involved with Utah for a number of years, along with Quinn. And it's hard in 1 year. You're building your foundation, and so you're maybe not measuring your team with wins, but are they playing up to their ability? Are they developing? Are they getting better? And when you first start a program, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's not any one particular thing that you're doing. It's how you practice, it's how you travel, it's how you concentrate in your team meetings, it's how you conduct yourself in a game, and then you measure your small successes that you have along the way. Can you string some wins together at home? Then can you get some quality road wins? Then can you be a consistent team? And usually when you're young, there's going to be a learning curve that you have to go through, and it takes time, and you have to be patient. So it's unfortunate because I know he put a lot into it, and to not be able to see it through is disappointing for any coach.
Coach, when you sit there at Sekou, you look at culture. There's a lot of different examples we could use to pop at the highest level for a long time. I go to Brooklyn, 20 games, 28 wins, playoffs. And go look at what Sean and I know outside of what happened a couple of days ago, I guess, what he and Kenny have done. How important is stability for this franchise in Phoenix? Having covered and seen what's happened to them over the years. Speaking of stability, the Rockets. Well, ish. Here's James Harden and Chris Paul after the loss.
Just looking at how you guys started in the fourth quarter, what really got away from you defensively that Donovan was able to get going and score the way he did?
They started off, might have been a three. We sort of played a pretty good D, and Donovan hit a tough three on the left wing, came down. I think I might have missed a floater in the lane and came back and scored again. And they just hit us first. They were a little bit more aggressive than us, and we got to be better.
Even with the hot shooting in the third quarter, three-point shooting, did you feel like the offense was kind of executing and getting what you wanted throughout the game, maybe even throughout both games here?
Yeah, somewhat. We were getting the shots that we wanted. We got some good looks, but the way we won most of the other games was imposing our defense. And being able to get stops on demand, and we didn't do that tonight.
How happy are you all being able to go home 1-1 though? I mean, you didn't come here and lose both games. You did get a split, which is the good. It's good to be able to go back home and try to close it out. Correct?
Yeah, of course we wanted to end it tonight, but. We had plenty of opportunities, and they made some plays in that fourth quarter, and we didn't. And so we get an opportunity to go home and in front of our crowd and play well.
How tough is it to close out a sweep, though? I mean, just on a home, on the other opposite teams on the road.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, no matter who you're playing, and obviously this is one of the toughest places to play in the league. But on the other side, it's an embarrassment. Like, you don't want to get swept, and you want to show that you have pride. And so those guys came out and give them credit. They played well. They fought hard, and they came away with a win. So we got game 3, and we get an opportunity to go home and do what we're supposed to do.
James, you guys had done well rebounding and in points in the paint. That wasn't the case tonight. What was the reason behind that?
Yeah, we went small in that lineup, and I think Favors was getting his hands on those rebounds and tip outs and things like that. So whenever we do go small, we get that lineup, and we got to make sure we put a body on them and gain rebound. But that was the game. I think they got 3 offensive rebounds in a row, and we played pretty good defense, but it's just draining when you're playing great defense and then you give up offensive rebounds. So we'll be better as a group, individually as a group, and be ready.
Mr. Paul, what would you tell? How would you all fix the second unit? Tonight they only gave you all 5 points off the bench, but when going home, will you be able to correct that?
Fix? Ain't nothing wrong. It's a game. It's a game, and a lot of times I'm in charge of the second unit. You know what I mean? So we'll bounce back. This game was what it was. We go back to Houston, and that's our home floor. So we'll be ready to play. Everybody.
Good.
The Suns admitted official Igor Kokoskov has been removed. This series moves on. We'll hear from the Jazz on the other side. Jazz trying to find a way to solve the puzzle that is the beard. Donovan Mitchell trying to have a moment, send it back to Houston. Jay Crowder had a lot of moments in the first half. Rex was huge at 14 in the first quarter.
Jay Crowder played for my father. His dad played for my father way back when, Kentucky Wesleyan College. I'm a big fan of Jay Crowder's. Grew up with him a little bit.
Okay, I like that. Ricky Rubio, 11 of his 18 in the quarter, lead 12, and then back we go. Chris Paul with a 3. Should we step back, Sekou? What do you think? Okay.
What? Worked all season. Why change now?
Push off here, coach?
Exaggerating. No push off there.
Mild stiff arm, perhaps? Off the miss. Transition. The other way. Jay Crowder, a little bully ball. Missed the free throw. He had 23 in the game at the half of 6 in the third. Rex, Rockets come out shooting.
Came out shooting, making a few this time. Wouldn't hold up.
Nope, that's foreshadowing. Spoiler alert. Don't worry, it's not about Game of Thrones. Harden, 8 of 12 from 3 in the third for the Rockets. Harden at 30. Donovan takes over. Sekou, we saw a lot of this last year. It's a big moment for him here in this series.
Mode. I mean, when he gets rolling downhill like this and attacking the basket from all over the place, not just shooting threes and settling for jump shots, but attacking the basket, putting the pressure on the defense, it opens up everything for them. But specifically, it cranks up that crowd and has Donovan Mitchell playing to the crowd, which is what he does best.
So I'm cooking Austin Rivers. Then on the break up, a bad turnover from Harden.
Oh!
How did he find a way one-handed?
My goodness, Royce O'Neal. Thank goodness that went in. Quinn Snyder might have killed him if he hadn't.
More from Mitchell. Finishing touches. He had 31, knocking down the jumper lead. 13. Finish. 107-91. Rockets shoot 0 for 13 from 3 in the fourth quarter of play. So Harden and Paul put together nice games. The bench 5 total points for the Rockets. Major problem. That second unit, Royce O'Neal and Favors, dominated tonight. Always dominant, our next guest. So always a pleasure. Welcome in Joe Borgia, Senior Vice President, Replay and Referee Operations. Joe, tonight we're looking at 2 of James Harden's patented step-back moves. The first, around 8-minute mark of the second against Donovan Mitchell. The second, 8:24 the third against Royce O'Neal. What do you see when you see Harden make this kind of move, and how do you officiate this?
Well, Casey, there seems to be a little controversy of whether this is a legal move or not. So let's go to our rule. Our rule states when a player is dribbling the ball, he is allowed to take 2 steps after he ends his dribble. Now, if you watch here, Harden ends the dribble with his left foot on the floor. That is 0. That's not a step. It's when he takes a step with the right and left is a 1-2. And he does that on both these plays. He ends on the left, and then he goes right, left, and jumps and makes his jump shot. So it doesn't matter whether it's a player driving to the basket, ending his dribble on his left. He's allowed a right, left, and a layup. Doesn't matter whether you go sideways, backwards, or forward. When you dribble the ball, once you end it, you're allowed 2 steps after it. Per rule by the NBA, that's a legal shot.
Joe, always appreciate you up late at night with us here during these playoffs. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
All righty, Casey.
All right, there's Joe Borgia joining us. Always appreciate that from out in Jersey. So, Coach, you've seen this play against you, and now with Doncic, we've got a couple of guys who utilize this, among others, at least predominantly. How many times have you sat there and thought, not sure whether or not this is a travel?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to look at it closely as you prepare your team to play, and it's a legal move. And what you have to look at is the shoulder and the arm. Does it extend away from the body to create the separation to get to that step? And James does a great job of setting it up. He's herky-jerky with the ball. He gets you leaning one way, and then it's a great move, and I think it's being called correctly.
You know, you look at it here, and we saw them trying to kind of hang on his shoulder and force him different ways, and like, it's not always going to work. I mean, Sekou, there's a reason why he won an MVP last year, and at worst, maybe going to finish second this year, right? But what about what they did to try and at least make it as difficult as possible? Because this guy makes shots that nobody's going to be able to stop.
Yeah, and that's all you can do, really, is try and make it as difficult an opportunity for him as possible. I thought we talked about it before the game, the strategy to get him to drive to the basket and go into the teeth of that Utah defense and contesting him near the basket with Rudy Gobert or whoever. We saw the Jazz go away from that a little bit tonight and say, all right, let's let him fire away a little bit. Let him shoot. See if he can knock him down. If he's not, that puts even more pressure on everybody else. And Daniel House and some of these guys weren't making those same shots that they made in Houston tonight. And I think it cost the Rockets big time.
It did. And look, the one thing I think if you're looking at it as much as you're not happy about what happened, if you're Coach D'Antoni, is there were some open shots that they missed. I mean, there were some swings to even guys like Eric Gordon, who had a really good game overall, that in the fourth quarter could have turned that tide. But how do you coach? You made a mistake as a team. I mean, the opportunity you had. We talked about this for those who weren't watching in our pregame. You had a situation against Milwaukee years ago with Chicago, chance to close out, ended up taking 6 games instead of 4. What needs to be discussed, happen, flight, film room between now and when we get to the next game so that Houston doesn't make this mistake again, this time at home?
Well, I think they'll take a look at the film. They'll probably stay over tonight in Utah, travel tomorrow, watch some film, get ready for the next one. And the big thing is Houston's going to play their game. They shoot the three, they get layups, they try to get to the free throw line, set up the corner threes. I thought Utah did a much better job of playing 2 on the penetration. James had a lot of turnovers, 8 turnovers I think tonight, and that was different. So they split the difference. I thought they made him read a little bit more, but this is a very dynamic offense that Houston has, and they're not going to change. They scored 12 points in the fourth quarter, which is very unusual. But the big thing is just get ready for the next game. You take it play by play. And the biggest adjustment is the intensity. Just be ready. They're going to come in. They're going to bring fire. And you got to be ready to respond with that. You're at home. You should have the energy of the building. But you got to give them something to cheer about. So I think play your game. Play great defense. Make plays for each other. Make hustle plays. Do things that will unite and inspire the team. I think right now, Utah played with a great team spirit tonight, and usually that's the way Houston plays, particularly at home.
It's interesting because you want to be adjustable, obviously. We saw 0 for 27 last year. It was only for 13 in the fourth quarter, so you're not even half that, my math, even at this time of night, right? You're impressed. Block or a charge or do math. Don't try that. It won't be as good. But I think they don't really adjust much. They're not going to go and change. For Utah, they know they're not the same team. So how about the fact that whether it was spoken or not, they decided to get into the paint. You mentioned Donovan Mitchell, we saw Royce O'Neal getting into the paint. Ricky Rubio was driving into the paint. Now, yeah, they gave him a couple of threes and baited him in to take them, but their points in the paint difference, it wasn't like Gobert was scoring them all on easy layups. It was really the guard and wing players driving to make a point to do that.
Yeah, and Favors and Gobert did hold things down defensively in there tonight as well. They played terrific on both ends of the court. As you see here, getting into the paint, getting paint touches. And the more paint touches you can get in the NBA, the better. You see Gobert going over here, a little 2-man game, and the floater in the paint. Where's Houston? Capella was really outplayed. Mike D'Antoni said tonight he's been a little bit under the weather, and it showed because here you go. Once again, once Donovan gets playing downhill like this and playing with this kind of confidence and that bounce in his step, look out. He's a very exciting player when he plays when he's playing with a lot of passion, he's tough to stop.
Were you surprised, any of you, that they didn't switch up? And I'm not trying to pick on anybody. Look, just to give an example, Klay Thompson is an unbelievable defender. When Lou Williams was on one the other day, and he could do that to anybody, he was cooking Klay a little bit. He could do to anybody. We know Donovan's a great player. Are you surprised to not see Austin switched off at some point in that fourth? Because it seemed like Donovan was trying to exploit him almost every time that he had him in the fourth quarter.
I think so. You know, look, matchups are tough in this league, and these guys are pros for a reason. And the coaches are sitting on that sideline for a reason. It's because you go where you feel like you've got the advantage. And tonight, I don't know if you put anybody on Donovan.
Yeah.
When Donovan gets going like that, I think, you know, you have to make a decision. Are you going to put two on him? Are you going to trap him more? And I think that's a decision that you have to make. I think you also have to read when they're penetrating the way they were penetrating. Are they flat drives, meaning going away from the basket or behind the basket? Are you overhelping on those and giving them open threes? And they do a good job of slot cutting from the weak side, so you have to be aware of that. But the big thing was reading whether it was a flat drive, penetrating drive, and then it's different with Mitchell. You know, 10 has to be up when he has the ball, and I think you have to treat him differently in the fourth quarter.
You know, Sekou, to Coach's point, it's a brilliant one, is that especially with Ingles on the floor, the way he's been shooting, which is odd. And I know it wasn't brought up necessarily by Coach, but only took 4 shots. Rubio was missing the threes they left open. Crowder's threes were really more in the first half. Are you surprised they didn't try and force him to, even with a double, to try and get somebody else? Because there wasn't really anybody on the floor that was hitting the three consistently at that point in the fourth quarter.
Sure, but I think the problem for Houston was they weren't hitting their shots. Right. So whatever their defense was doing, they weren't able to catch up or to, you know, stay in the mix because they weren't knocking down shots. Mm-hmm. And this is really, to me, if we talk about a defender that you could pinpoint to at least bother Donovan Mitchell, I think it's Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
And that's the one that was surprising to me, is that you didn't try and lock Gordon up on Donovan Mitchell exclusively to maybe limit some of his effectiveness. This is the one guy the Rockets have who's got the right parameters and the size that's pretty similar that can stay with Donovan Mitchell off the dribble as well as chase him around the perimeter a little bit.
They're going to, hey, look, Houston's going to need to hit shots. Jazz are going to need more consistency from their supporting cast hitting threes late in the game to win on the road. When we come back, we'll hear from Donovan Mitchell, players on both sides, the Rockets.
Wyndham rewards points to